SLU International Business Now, Conversations That Matter is a podcast developed by the Boeing Institute of International Business in St. Louis University's Chaffetz School of Business. Special thanks to founder Dr. Sung Kim for his grant to support the launch of this podcast.
Today's episode of SLU International Business Now, Conversations That Matter, is brought to you by Merits. At Merits, we operate on the belief that humanity's greatest resource is the potential in people. Our passion is clear, engaging people and elevating performance. No matter the solution, our job is to help move people from where they are to where they aspire to be. We support, encourage, and celebrate those who step up and accept the challenge to reach their personal best, with science and art and passion and an unshakable belief in people. We are Merits.
This is Todd Hovermale, bringing you Conversations That Matter. In this episode, host Jeff Klopfenstein sat down with Chad Merryman, Chief Commercial Officer at Watlow, to discuss Watlow's recent acquisition of Eurotherm and its implications. Here is the full conversation with Chad and Jeff.
Chad, thanks for talking with me today, and please tell me a few things about your role in Watlow.
Great. Well, Jeff, thanks for having me. We're excited to tell our story here at Watlow. I'm 18-year veteran here at Watlow now, Chief Commercial Officer. Watlow is organized in three business units, three vertical markets where we focus our talents. One is in semiconductor markets, one is in energy and environmental technologies, and then our thermal solutions business unit serves all the other markets like aerospace and medical. And so I also GM that business unit, and it's not quite about half the business. It's one of our larger business units.
Mm-hmm. And tell me about your owner, Tinicum, and how you relate to the company that owns Watlow.
About 5 years ago, we were third generation with the Deloge family, and deep into our strategy, our growth strategy, really excited about the potential in Watlow, and saw that the investment risk profile of the current family didn't match what the strategy was calling for. We really needed more investment in capital and people, and we were really excited about that. And so 5 years ago, the owner at the time went out to the marketplace, found a company, a partner in Tinicum. It's a private equity family office, different profile than what you see. They really invest in long term. They don't have a window. Some of their companies, one of their oldest companies, they've owned for over 20 years. And so it's been just a great partnership since that time. They've really invested and bought into the strategy. And because of the nature of their business, they see a lot of good companies. They operate good companies. And so they really in a position to ask good questions when we talk to them about our strategy. And good questions generally point you to other opportunities or greater potential. So we've been really blessed for the last 3 years.
Tell me about the manufacturing platform of Watlow and how that's evolved over time and how that's evolved with the new ownership.
Absolutely. So all your questions are going to be great, but that one's exciting as well. That's part of the investment that we were looking from Tinicum, is help us invest in our manufacturing capabilities. And Tinicum likes to own manufacturing companies, and so they love to invest in manufacturing automations and tools and capital. And so it's really allowed us to expand our strategy around manufacturing. Watlow has historically been a North America-centric manufacturing company, but we know we needed to expand that manufacturing footprint greater into Europe and greater into Asia so we could reach those customers more effectively. And Tinicum is really enabling us to do that.
With one of those acquisitions was the Eurotherm acquisition. So how is that going? What was the strategy behind that?
So with Tinicum in their position as a family practice, they get a look at a lot of good companies, and so now they're in a position to not only did we have an organic strategy, but an inorganic for acquisition to add to capabilities and footprint. And so this opportunity came up, and we were amazing. We're just excited about it. With our strategy, our growth strategy, one of those growth strategies was diversification, like I mentioned. How do we change our revenue streams, our revenue footprint, and Eurotherm really enabled that. Watlow historically for the prior 99 years, we were U.S.-centric, OEM, original equipment manufacturing centric, and CapEx driven in the capital equipment market. And Eurotherm, and so our goal was, how do we become more outside of the U.S., more direct to end users, and diversify our revenue from all CapEx to more OpEx. And Eurotherm checked all those boxes for us. They gave us a huge footprint in Europe. They gave us access to Eastern European manufacturing. They brought us a different complementary customer set, and they brought us complementary products that also extended our capabilities in strategic areas like data, software, and systems. So it's just an amazing synergistic plan.
So a U.S.-based, historically U.S.-based company acquiring a major European company, and I can imagine simply from a cultural standpoint, there were differences, and now it's a little more than a year. How's it going? How's the integration going? A little more than a year, and how has the culture of the whole company changed since then?
Yeah, so it was an interesting acquisition, and without Tinicum, I don't think we could have processed it, because we were buying a company that was owned by a much larger corporation, a $30 billion company selling off a small business unit. And so from a culture perspective, the good news is Watlow and Eurotherm were very similar in how we went to market, and we design, we develop, we manufacture our own products. And so at the core, we were very similar, but certainly the big company to small company influence, all the structure. Watlow tends to want to be and is a little bit more innovative, a little bit faster, a little bit higher in risk-taking, willing to be a little bit looser, to go fast. We believe making decisions faster puts us in a better competitive position than drawing it out. And so coming from a $30 billion company where decision-making would roll up and down and then back up again, that was one of the biggest, I think, culture changes is getting this organization to say, take a chance and go.
And even from a standpoint of languages, back to the human side of culture, how's the human side working here after a year?
Yeah, I think with any change, people get nervous, right? And so we really focused on the integration strategy, and it starts with having a good business strategy. When you have a good business strategy, then you can, and we knew exactly how they would come in, then you could create an integration strategy, and so then you can quickly decide how do you want to integrate people, tools, and processes. And so giving people a quick replacement picture so they know exactly how they can add value to the organization was important. Having Eurotherm work for a large company, generally what you find in almost all the front office is everybody was fluent in English, multilingual in Europe, and so language really wasn't a barrier, and we were fortunate from that. And even for Watlow as a international global company, English is still the business language, and we tend to be able to navigate pretty easily in Europe or in Asia.
We're just finished 2023. So how did the first full year go? Did the company achieve what you hoped to achieve in your business plan?
Yeah, we're blessed. We've done well. We created a 3-year plan, and originally our plan was to allow for some settling in for culture and people. And what we found as we got into due diligence and in those first early days is that everybody was so excited to get going that we really were able to accelerate that integration plan. And we really walked through, and part of it was making sure that the plan was equitable, so that at all levels of the organization there was an appropriate representation of Watlow and Eurotherm with a bias towards best team member for the job. But the integration really turned out to be pretty equitable, and ultimately at the end of the first year we actually achieved year 2's goals. And so now we're just blowing through that. The potential between the combined companies is just amazing.
That's great to hear, Chad. Just a very, very basic question: Is Watco growing, and what are the competitive strengths of Watlow in the marketplace?
Right. So for sure, Watlow, we're on a pace to almost double in size in the last 4 years, and the acquisition has helped with that. We expect 2024 to be another strong growth year, both from an organic perspective, and we have several things that are moving through in our funnel that would be exciting. And it really, what drives us is good strategy, clarity of strategies, picking the right markets and segments to be in, making sure that those places have good market dynamics, and Watlow is selected well, and it fits well with our core capabilities. Watlow was founded on innovation. The company got started because we started inventing products, and we've continued that pedigree. We carry over 1,200 patents. And our specialty is around the thermal loop, is what we call it. We manufacture things that provide electrical heat, plus the power to do that, and the ability to control that, and the ability to provide sensing so that it operates the way it needs to. And so Watlow invents those technologies, we develop those technologies, design our products, and we manufacture our products, and we're able to really tailor it to customers' applications and problems. And because of that, and picking the right problems, we've really benefited from some really good tailwinds in market dynamics.
Okay, and it sounds like you're making some of your own tailwinds.
And we're strategically picking the right places to be.
Switching gears, let's switch. We've talked a lot about Europe. Let's switch to China, and in particular, there are a number of global tensions in the world, and a lot of companies are heavily dependent upon China for supply chain, and China has a huge customer base as well. So tell me about what Watlow's strategy in China and on the supply side, and also on the customer side.
Well, for any global company, China is important. It's the second largest global economy, and how you navigate commercially in China is very important. Watlow tends to simplify things. When we think of import and export control is very much about getting paid, making sure we collect and we create, the U.S. creates a fair marketplace for companies here. Export is about national defense, and export controls is about making sure that as you sell products into China, like Watlow, that has multi-use opportunities, how do we make sure that it's being used for the use that it's intended to, versus a use that creates risk for our own national security? And so that one is navigating trade compliance, but to your point, because of that, it creates there's evolving restrictions and compliance requirements, and it creates risk for supply chain. It creates risk for IP, and so we're very much trying to figure out how do we diversify and reduce our risk in China. So we are looking for dual sourcing materials, expanding our manufacturing footprint in Malaysia. During COVID, we actually bought a factory, a building, sight unseen, and during COVID, we bought the building, and by the end of the year, we're actually manufacturing from there, and did all of that far under the constraints of COVID. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to us to reduce our risk of supply chain and of manufacturing in China, but not abandon the market, because that market is very strategic for anybody who's playing on a global basis.
And Chad, you have manufacturing in China.
Correct.
And so that manufacturing in China, is that pointed toward what market?
Several markets, like I mentioned, it's pointed to oil and gas, food equipment, medical devices, electric vehicle battery production, which is a growing market. So we provide products that would support all the manufacturing of those in those spaces.
And looking to expand regards China, or how does the?
Yep. So the 80-20 strategy is how do we prepare China for China? Mm-hmm. So how do we source and produce and manufacture for the local market? And we'll use Malaysia to support the rest of Asia for that benefit. And so as we have success in China, we'll continue to invest in China.
What are the opportunities for Watlow moving forward? how can Watlow help us to transition to a low carbon future?
That's an important question that many companies are trying to answer, especially in the manufacturing environment. Obviously we know as you drive gas-fired vehicles, you're contributing to the carbon issue. But so the manufacturers, the automobile manufacturers, trying to resolve that. But there's all the industries are also trying to contribute to how do we move to a net zero and reduce our carbon footprint. And so Watlow, we're in a unique position because all of these gas-fired processes that uses oil or gasoline or some other carbon-based material are looking to go to an alternative, and an electric heater, which Watlow produces, is a obvious answer to that, as well as other alternative energy sources. But Watlow is in a unique position to capitalize on that market. We believe that market is going to grow dramatically as all those industries try to make that transition, that energy transition. And we're in a unique position to help solve those problems because those companies who are they have the commitment that they want to go to a zero-based carbon footprint, but they don't know how to solve the problem. And so that's where Watlow can come in, help them transition their applications, their processes, and hopefully not only make their process consistent to prior, but make it better at the same time. Because electric heat brings in some unique benefits around better temperature uniformity and control of the temperature and the heat profile.
And your employees relate to this Watlow's position in the low carbon future? Is that something that's motivating to employees?
One of the things that's important to Watlow, and Jeff, you kind of touched on it, is culture is important to Watlow. And years ago, we really got focused on how do we make our culture more constructive? How do we get our team members leaning in to the work? And it starts with getting them connected to a higher purpose. And so Watlow, we really value focusing on the problems that make a difference. And we know we can connect our markets and our products to our team members and get them in a position where they feel like they can make a difference every day. And it comes through in their attitude, it comes through in the quality of our products, it comes through in many ways.
Sounds like a great place to work.
There's so much potential and the team loves it here. So it's exciting.
And before we close, any final comments you'd like to provide about the future of Watlow and what the next 5 years would look like? Yeah, well, and maybe one for the folks that are listening in, because I appreciate the line of questioning is, how did the integration with Eurotherm, why did you make that acquisition? What is your strategy in China? What is your manufacturing footprint strategy? And those are great questions. And one of the things, what's rooted in there is that the clarity and vividness of your strategy makes everything else simple. And it makes decision-making simpler, and it makes decision-making faster. And so that's where Watlow spends our time, is making sure that our strategies is vivid and that we cascade that through the organization so that every person knows that every decision that they're making, how it aligns to the strategy, and they're empowered to make that decision because we know they're aligned to the mission. And that's one of the things that we believe is an incredible competitive advantage, is the ability to get the organization making decisions faster. We'd rather err on motion. And that's what I would suggest for anybody listening. Clarity and vividness of strategy and the ability for your organization to understand it. Thanks, Chad. Again, that's very inspiring, and I'm sure, like you say, your employees all across the world are inspired by clarity of strategy.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Chad.
We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Chad Merryman from Watlow. If you learned something from this podcast, please support our show by leaving a review with your podcast provider. We hope you will join us next time as we continue to explore international business. I'm Todd Hovermale, bringing you conversations that matter.
Thank you for tuning in to the SLU International Business Now Conversations That Matter podcast. We invite you to subscribe to this podcast series so you don't miss any future episodes. To learn more about the Executive Master of International Business program, please visit biib.slu.edu. Again, that's biib.slu.edu.